So it's just a short video to show some of the features of this Catfish, so people know how to use it. First of all, there is no real other way to get in other than just getting between those wheels, hitting the helm. There's room for 2 in here, sleeping wise, and diving equipment, but no one at the second station, not much room. So going through the buttons, the exhaust pumps, internal air, that's all for the generator, which is only used to recharge the batteries. Then we've got full front ballast, empty front ballast, and backlights for everything are on this right hand side. Now these systems here, this generator throttle is suggests just for the generator, nothing to do with motive power. Dive planes need to be put probably up to about 40% when you're running along the bottom, otherwise it tends to nose up. Engine ignition circuit and emergency power both on breakers, because if you're low on power and then you try and hit the ignition, you will not be able to start the engine anymore, so there's a dedicated battery for that. If you want to be able to hit the ignition, which is number 1 from the helm, then you need to hit the ignition circuit first. After you've done that 2 or 3 times, you'll find that it starts to get a bit sluggish with the starting because the battery's slowly wearing down. Once you notice that and you get the engine started, then you hit the ignition circuit charge button, which will connect it and allow it to charge. Then once your battery's gotten to full, you can go backwards, hit that off, separate the engine ignition circuit, which I suggest always doing after you've hit the ignition on. Emergency power's there just to, if you just short of your goal and you hit that, you get an extra 2 medium batteries, which are normally cut off, and that will give you a little bit more of a boost if you need it. Hopefully you shouldn't. So there's your air down there. First thing you want to do is fill your internal air. This allows you to fill the internal tanks so that you can run the engine when you're underwater. And off we go. So this is just electric power at the moment. We've got 2 hoses. The rear tank is actually, the rear ballast tank can double as a fuel tank, so the idea of this is to take 20,000 litres of jet fuel to the airport in one hit, instead of having to do it multiple planes or helicopters. Plus it's just a different way of doing it. So we stay here until we've filled our air tanks. Emergency exit down there, by the way. Oh yeah, other systems I should probably show you. This one, if you end up having to open the door or the hatch while you're underwater, and that'll evacuate the cabin pretty quickly. There's a lot of pumps there, but it's not always going to work unless you're in fairly shallow water, so the diving equipment's there to keep you alive until you can get there. Alright. Yep, air's full. So, brakes off, and off we go. Now the pistons at the back there, that's to right you if you end up on your side. You'll notice that when we first start, if you actually are completely empty, other than your fuel tanks, you will float. Now the forward, back, left, right is for your aquatic controls, so you've got propellers in the back, and you've got a rudder. Although I do suggest putting dive planes on a little bit more than 40 if you're going to be here, because it does like to go nose up. Even so, it's going to probably flip around a bit. It's not really designed to run on the surface like this, but it can if it needs to. But don't fret if it goes over sideways or backwards, because that's what the pistons are there for, to stop that being a problem. So we'll just show that. And I should probably also start filling the tanks. So fill the rear ballast at 6. A bit of light down there. The actual front ballast, though, controls are on here, so fill that front ballast. Now if we hang about for a bit, no, it's right at itself. If we hang about for a bit, we can begin moving toward our goal, which I've already pre-marked, is the fuel island over here. And you see we're already sitting lower in the water. And now that we are, those dive planes are going to help to bring us down. And now we can start to run on our wheels, or a combination of the two. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on your battery. 8 is the maximum, and you can see it goes down pretty quickly. Another thing I don't suggest is doing what I'm doing right now and just holding W down and going flat chat, because obstacles underwater can sometimes be difficult to see until they're right on top of you. So also you'll hear a lot of tyre screeching if you do that, so you're wasting power. I prefer to go trim to 50% and you'll just chug along. You'll get up any hill really. If you do need a bit more power, you can either press W or just hit your propeller to give you a bit more of a boost. But it'll take any hill really underwater that you'll meet, unless it's vertical obviously. So this now, once that tank gets to 20,000, it'll be simulating the sort of load that you'll have when you have a full tank. The front tank only takes about 4,000, so we have to remember to turn that pump off and not waste power. So just to show, we're now 30 meters down. I'm going to put my generator throttle up. And now we're going to need to hit our exhaust pumps. Use the internal air. Open the ignition circuit and so now I'm recharging the battery while we're underwater. Got plenty of fuel to run the generator too, so looking good. Now it's a long way to go, so I'll probably skip forward and just show any exciting events that happen along the way. But generally, the idea is you just crawl along the bottom, get to where you need to go, and I'll show you how you egress for water at the other side.